Welcome back to Football Match Daily. We're back with another video. It's a Champions League week, but we won't be covering Champions League today. We're here to cover the post-game tactical analysis of the Chelsea versus Man City game that happened over the weekend. And Ayush looks like a very happy member at the moment of the Chelsea fan club. Um, but the result was Man City 1, Chelsea 0, Gabriel Jesus with the winning goal. And let's just say there was a lot to take away from the game tactically. So if Ayush could just show us the lineups of the game when the game began. Chelsea, to everyone's surprise, I don't know if Ayush expected a 3-5-2, but Chelsea lined up with a 3-5-2. And Ayush, tell me, I mean, last week we were talking about how if Tuchel would want to outnumber City's midfielders or whether he would just want to sit back and defend. He's clearly gone to outnumber the defenders. But did you expect that front two to start?
Well, kudos to you for that because you said that maybe Tuchel will want to outnumber the midfielders, and he did do that. But again, I told you that I didn't want that because we can't sit back against City. And you will notice I'll get into this in detail later. But I was not a fan of that, and I would have just preferred if we would have stuck with the 3-4-3 formation. I think I have a lot of things to say today because this was a very interesting game, especially for all the nerds in our viewers. Because Chelsea started with a different formation, as you said, 3-5-2, and we almost had Lukaku, Werner, Kovacic, and Jorginho ahead at all times. That was the plan, but City didn't really allow us. And City played a thing, something like 4-4-2. Don't focus on the numbers. There were always four attackers ahead in our half, even in our goal kicks, especially because if you know, not a lot of people know this, but Chelsea's passing accuracy in the opponent's half is terrible. 33% of the passes have succeeded, others are terrible because Chelsea just can't play in compact areas. None of our players are really known for their first touches, especially Lukaku, if you say, because there was a lot of times Lukaku missed his chance because of the sloppy first touch. So what happened was, I think Pep got his tactics absolutely right this time because they clearly dominated Chelsea. Chelsea always started from the back. Mendy used to pass to either Aspilicueta, to either Christensen or Rudiger. They always had four attackers behind. There was one extra. Jesus was on the right. We had Foden, we had De Bruyne, and we had Grealish. They were always in our half. They never went back like the game against, like the game in Champions League or in any of the games we played against them. And Chelsea can't do anything if we can't play from the back because everything generates from the back. Mendy and Aspilicueta are amazing distributors of the ball. So they couldn't distribute because City always had players for each of them. In fact, they had one extra player. It was always a 4v3 situation, and none of those players were really capable.
It was actually 5. You're forgetting Bernardo Silva.
Bernardo Silva was still deeper because these four were the ones who were always ahead. These were always marking Christensen, Rudiger, and Aspilicueta, and one guy stayed behind with whoever, Kante or Jorginho, whoever stayed behind. One guy was with him. So that was the case. But in the early game stages of the game, James went out due to an injury, and Thiago Silva came in. So things switched up a little. The tactical game stayed the same. Didn't really make a lot of difference because Aspilicueta can clearly cover up for James. So it started well, and Manchester City just went on attack, and I think they got it 100% right to do that because whenever Chelsea has lost, if you see the Aston Villa game last year or the West Brom game last year, you cannot sit back against Chelsea and defend. You have to attack and attack and attack, and that's the only way you can beat Chelsea right now. And that's exactly what they did. I was really impressed with them. In fact, I was expecting that they won't have a defensive midfielder, but that certainly was not the case this time.
As you said, when James unfortunately had to go off due to an injury, was that when maybe at the moment Thomas Tuchel should have thought that no, this is not. I mean, we've got another opportunity to switch things up from the back. Maybe not bring out another. I mean, let's just switch to a back four, instead, where we can.
No. I don't think we can play with the back four because clearly our wing backs go. They are always in the opponent's half and they're trying to put crosses. If we play with the back four, it becomes even more defensive. I know it sounds absurd, but Chelsea certainly does not work in a back four. We saw that under Lampard. He tried 4-3-3, he tried 4-2-3-1, he tried everything. Chelsea needs that the wing backs and the three center backs. What Thomas Tuchel did do and could have done earlier was this tweak. He took Kante out and he switched to our regular formation, which is the 3-4-3. And I looked at the stats and the XG after the substitution, and there was a major difference. Chelsea didn't even have one attempt before we did this, and as soon as we did that, City were not really dominating us. They were still the better team, and they definitely deserved to win, but they weren't really dominating us. In fact, if you watch the game, Lukaku even scored a goal which was given offside, correctly given. But I'm just saying that we were able to create chances as soon as we switched to our more attacking formation. I think Tuchel was rightly afraid of Manchester City to try to outnumber them in the midfield, but Kante was it was not really Kante's day. So I think Tuchel was smart to come to this because otherwise it could have been 2 or 3-0 even. Even Mendy was amazing. The only player I can really blame are Werner and Kante, to be honest.
I'm surprised you would call out Werner because from what I recall from the game, I saw Werner pulling at least yeah, Laporte was starting. So he pulled
Yeah,
Laporte, but then
he definitely did.
Lukaku on
He
Lukaku was
definitely did do
unfortunately
that.
not able to get those touches right. And I mean, I really don't like to point this out, but the last video you mentioned that Diaz was a finished defender for you, but he
Yeah.
clearly got a couple of good blocks in against Lukaku too. So
Okay, yeah, maybe I should maybe I should correct my statement. Diaz is not really finished, but he's overrated for me. Like people try to compare him with Van Dijk and Ramos. No, he's a good defender. He's decent, but certainly not up to the level people show him as. And he definitely didn't deserve that award last year. But we can't really talk about that now, can we? Actually, it was not more of Werner's fault. It was someone's disappearance. We didn't really have Mount. I think we needed Mount. In 3-5-2, Werner was fine. In 3-4-3, Werner, in fact, as usual, Werner was fine in 3-5-2 because it was a two striker formation. It worked for Lukaku and Werner, but we couldn't play, but we couldn't create chances anymore because I told you that our defense was blocked from each and every way, and we had one extra midfielder instead of an attacker. So if Mount would have been there, I think we could have equalized, to be honest.
if you switch back to the lineups of the game,
Yeah,
you could
just a
see
second. Yeah, can you see my screen?
that you know I mean Pep didn't really change anything tactically. He's played that same formation from the beginning of the season, and that strikerless formation that he perfected from last season, he continued that, and you could see the threat that, as you mentioned, the four, the Grealish, Foden, Jesus, and De Bruyne possessed. We even had the discussion whether De Bruyne was fit to start and whether which centre back would start too. And I think De Bruyne had that impact. He could obviously create those chances. Bernardo Silva did exceptionally well to drop down, provide Rodri that help that the outnumbered midfielders that Chelsea had could. And then you obviously know what João Cancelo can do. I mean, last season, I don't know which source, but someone had called him an inverted, I think, an inverted fullback where he steps into the midfield instead. So
Yeah,
if you actually look at the game City played on the pitch, it was actually a 3-3-4 in that essence. So that Pep could outnumber City's defense, and what we were expecting to be a battle of the midfield turned out to be a battle of attack versus defense eventually. So I mean, I think this is one of the games Pep really did not overthink about his tactics, and he got them right on. So
I,
I'd give him kudos to that. And what was already, what turned out to be eventually an eventful game and an eventful weekend in the Premier League in general. This was a great starter of the weekend, and this this game was an exhibition of what Premier League has to offer. And I think now, as the season continues, we're looking forward to seeing both of these teams perform in the Premier League, now even in the Champions League. City play PSG next midweek, while they have to face Liverpool on the weekend. Whereas Chelsea have relatively quite easy fixtures both places. So that's another thing to look out for. So that's been our post-match tactical analysis of Chelsea versus Man City. Unless Ayush, you want to add something?
I just want to say this that the main thing which really turned the game was the four striker formation which Pep came out with, and that come on, that goal was lucky. That's it.
So that's a Chelsea fan Ayush with his pretty unbiased statements there. He's appreciated the way City plays, and while we all love the fans, we love unbiased opinions more. So that's been our post-match analysis of Chelsea versus Man City. This has been Videep and Ayush from Football Match Daily. Like the video if you enjoyed our content and subscribe to see more. This is something we're trying to get more of, and we hope to see you next time. Thank you for watching.